to the show. Oh, it's now it says we're live. Welcome everybody to a brand new episode of Crush This Monster Truck Podcast. My name is Bradley Shaw, also known as the Monster Truck and Knocker, and I'm back. I took a break from the episode, had to get some personal stuff kind of taken care of, but I am back, and today we are interviewing Josh Gibson, also known to some people as Vinny Venom. He was a former driver at Bigfoot. It's going to be an awesome episode, guys. Next Tuesday, we may or may not have an episode. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. Cheech is going to the Hall of Fame for next week. So it's kind of on me to kind of do an episode for you guys. So let me know what you guys want. Do you guys want to, hang out and play some video games? Do you guys want to interview? What do you guys want to do? So let me know and we'll figure that out. But, we just like to thank our sponsors. Cheech, if you're watching, can you put up the sponsors, please, in the rolling thing? Because well, we have High Octane Coffee, Joey Sylvester. Since day one, Joey has been awesome for supporting us, giving us products for giveaways. We also have J Concepts, Fred and Jason from J Concepts. Nick Davis with Back Channel Productions. Also like to give these guys a shout out. Some Obsessed Wear helped us out with our original shirts that we gave out. And also Justin with Justin Stories with Justin Stories. Go check out his books. They're on Amazon. There's the Making Tracks. I believe there's a Christmas one out right now as well. And as well, JB Scale Graphics. They do a lot of wrap designs for the RC industry, flags, you name it. Also, I forget the exact date, but check out Dan's RC event happening at the Hall Brothers shop, the Hall Brothers Invitational. Go check that out. Go check that out. That is coming up soon. And if everybody's ready, let's get into it, guys. So this episode is Josh Gibson. Let's do it.
This isn't your typical motorsports podcast. You're listening to Crush This, a monster truck podcast presented by High Octane Coffee and J Concepts. A show where we take you inside the minds of your favorite drivers, past and present, of the monster truck industry. And now, your hosts, Brad Shaw and Dan Chichagash. Buckle in. The show starts now.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How's it going? And what's going on, Josh? How you doing?
Oh, doing great, guys. Glad to be on.
Doing good. Awesome. Just so one thing, I think, are you driving for Bigfoot there, Josh, for the current Toughest Monster Truck Tour schedule for this year?
I filled in for a couple dates. I did drive. I drove Loveland, Colorado, Independence, Missouri, and Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which was a new venue for them this year on the Toughest Monster Truck Tour. I filled in those 3 weekends, but as far as I know, that's all I have scheduled for right now. Just kind of helping them out.
Gotcha. So let's start it off. How did you get into the business? Were you a fan when you were younger? Like, how did you get a transition and got yourself into the role in Bigfoot?
Yeah, I was like every other little boy. Growing up, I was fortunate enough. I grew up actually the same town I live in, but we're about 35 minutes from Bigfoot shop when it was in Hazelwood, Missouri, at Lindbergh and Interstate 270. So as a child, I would go down there and see the trucks and go through the shop and everything, and had been a few times as a child, not like I went every week or anything like that, but like every other little boy, I liked monster trucks and trucks in general. So we always went to the old St. Louis Arena, nicknamed the Checker Dome, and got to see, some of the early stuff there, late 80s, into the 90s, Camel, Bud Monster Tour. And I've got some old pictures with Fred Schaefer, the year he debuted the Dodge Barefoot, and Jack Williams, and went to those shows, went to local fair shows. But as far as getting into the business, when I started at Bigfoot, I hadn't been to a monster truck show since, I would say, the Monster Jam show at the Dome in St. Louis in like 2004. It'd been 10 or 11 years since I had been to a show. I was just looking for a job. Never once thought I'd ever end up in the monster truck industry. You know, I had some friends that had worked for Bigfoot, and it was always, you know, my friend Chris or my friend Gene, they work for Bigfoot. I never thought that I would be the one working there alongside of them. So just kind of randomly on a Sunday night, stop by and, you know, hey man, you know anybody hiring in town? Just kind of sitting around talking, and he's like, well, Bigfoot's got some openings. You'll be a road guy, but that could eventually lead into driving. If you want, I can get you an application, and just kind of started there.
So, you know, when you applied at Bigfoot, did you have any of a mechanical background? Did you go to like a technical school, or did you do some wrenching on your off time?
So I did not go to a technical school for mechanics. I actually went to Lynn Tech, which is now State Technical School of Missouri, or whatever their new name is, for computer programming, and did a semester there for that. But I am a mechanic by trade. I did that previous to working at Bigfoot, and that's actually what I do full time since I've left Bigfoot. So I did have some mechanical background.
So let's go with that. A lot of people may not know, you know, that outside of maybe Bigfoot and the Hall brothers and stuff like that, that there's a ladder that get to the position where you're at. You know, people know in Feld they only could go so far up, and then they, you know, but back in the day they could get in the seat, but now it's mostly a lot of times managerial or stuff like that. But a lot of independent teams, you know, they quickly would get you in the seat pretty fast if you see today's world. But I know in the Hall brothers and Bigfoot they like to grow, I guess, the personnel. So when you started, what was the steps when you got to your chance to get in behind a wheel of a truck?
Well, so when I started at Bigfoot, I started in October of 2013. Um, I I was very fortunate when I started. Whether it was a new system that they were implementing, new protocols, or just luck of the draw with what was going on internally in the company at the time, I was, you know, fast tracked through the program, so to speak. It was something that was very much new for anybody. Usually, I know Darren Schnell could give you stories, and some of the other guys, you know, prior to me, as far as how they worked their way through. And it took years of doing displays and crewing and beating down the roads before they got an opportunity. Not saying that I didn't do all of that, but I worked there, I want to say 5 months before I got to drive for the first time, which at that time at Bigfoot was unheard of. But I started out just working in the shop, getting to know the truck. It was towards the end of the year, like I said, being October, so a lot of the trucks were back, didn't go on the road much, and got to learn a lot about the trucks, the protocols as far as repairs, and how the Bigfoot system went and how everything was implemented within the company. And then beginning first quarter, we actually did a Monster Nationals indoor tour, and Eric Tack, we were short on drivers. Eric Tack was called back, and he would fly in and drive the truck. So I would take the truck to him and get everything ready and help him through the weekend and crew for him, and did that all the way through first quarter.
So, you know, being a Bigfoot at the time, you know, you look at the drivers that they had at the time, you know, Larry Swim, Dan Runte. You had some of the best there to kind of help guide you when you got behind the seat. And let's talk about that first time you were able to get behind the wheel of one of the Bigfoot trucks. How was that experience for you? You know, like you're growing up watching them in the arena in St. Louis, like to be sitting strapped in, engines running. Like how is that moment for you?
No, it was awesome. Very fortunate to ever get the opportunity to do it, whether it was even just moving the truck around at the arenas when I would take the truck for Eric and crew, and I also got to crew for Dan Runte a couple weekends that year, Larry Swim, and I really tried to take everything I could from those guys and help make me a better crew guy and driver if I ever got to that point. The first time I got to drive, we were actually in Chico, California. Larry Swim was doing a Monster X Tour show in Chico in, I want to say it was March of 2014, late March, early April. Um, and we had Bigfoot 19 out there. And Saturday afternoon, prior to the Saturday evening show, just decided Bob and Ann Trent, the president of Bigfoot, they were there and said, "Hey, jump in the truck and let's see." So we kind of went through a few things, and my actually first car crush was nothing televised, not very spoken of. It was at the racetrack between shows in Chico, California. And actually, I couldn't even fit into Larry Swim's fire suit. So the first fire suit I wore as a driver was Donald's Titan fire suit.
Man, actually, I was gonna backtrack a little bit from the driving question. I'm more of a crew guy question, and you were
Okay.
crewing with one of the best Bigfoot drivers out there with Eric Tack, and the knowledge that he has, especially with the trucks that he had with 14 and 15, even back down with 11, uh, a lot of knowledge that he had. So when you were crewing and stuff like that, was he kind of helping you out with knowing what was the damages of the truck, what was common that broke on the truck? Because I do know when we were working when I was working for Phil, it was kind of like a throw you in the water type moment, and figure you had higher crew guys to help you out, but with the scenario that you were talking about, you were kind of with Eric Tack. So what was it like having him as a driver when you were first starting out with Bigfoot?
Eric did teach a lot. I will say that I guess it had been a while since Eric had been at Bigfoot full time by that point, and a lot of the things on the trucks had changed, and some of the protocols had changed as far as truck repair or things like that since he had been there. Eric is extremely knowledgeable about the truck. Could tell you a ton about, especially the late '90s, early 2000s when he was running Pro MT and a lot of that stuff. How the trucks were set up. Not to say that a lot of that doesn't transfer over into that system, but there were a few things that were different, and him and I had to figure it out together. But for the most part, yes, he had been around the trucks enough that he knew how to get through a lot of it without major downtime. Along with, like I said, I had 3 full months leading into first quarter that I was at the shop every day with Dan, with Larry, with Chris Ludwig, that used to be full-time shop guy there, John Peterson, Brian Bertoletti, and Brian was actually the shop foreman at the time. So those guys all taught me so much about the trucks and having a mechanical background that I was pretty confident going into first quarter with Eric. And everybody that was there that year knows we had our fair share of breakage, and we got through. And I don't think that we ever missed a show together. So.
what was some of the normal breakage you would see on a weekend? You know, whether it be, you know, third member champagnes, like what was the like main breakage you guys would always deal with on, you know, weekends?
So I will say, um, that year, like I said, I was new, and we changed a lot of the Bigfoot program going forward from that first quarter 2014 season. One of the big changes was Eric had Bigfoot 14 that year, doing the Monster National shows, which outside of DeQueen, Illinois, are all concrete floor shows that do donuts. Um, for those who know, and those that don't know, Bigfoot trucks generally, or even up until that and until that point, they do not run a locker. Nobody makes a locker or a spool for the ZF axles that Bigfoot trucks run. So they have a limited slip type differential and your regular open differential. Well, when you would do donuts on the limited slips, it would tear the clutch packs out of them. Well, all those shows had a donut contest. So when we started out the year, Friday night, we go into the show on a fresh third member, which was hardest on the clutch packs, and tear them up. Well, so the truck would perform well and not run those through the ring and pinion and tear teeth up. We'd have to pull the third member Friday night, change it out for Saturday. Well, then we go into a Saturday show, do a donut contest again, and pull the third member back out Monday morning when I get to the shop. So we did that, I want to say 3 or 4 weeks in a row, 2 third members a weekend, and decided that we were going to try something different. So that year, actually, Chris got together, myself and Brian, and took some old third member parts and welded the spider gears together and essentially made a mini spool for the ZF axles and Bigfoot trucks. And Eric and I R&D'd that year, and we're kind of the guinea pigs and got away from that. And from now, I think every truck at Bigfoot has that set up in the rear differential.
That's pretty cool.
We also, I mean, we were in Hoffman Estates. We blew the planetary hat apart and had that breakage that year, along with, that was on a Saturday night, and the Friday night show, we lost an engine. So we had a lot of work that weekend, and I will say the 4 years I was at Bigfoot, that was the only time I saw a planetary hat explode on a CF axle. So we had some fluke things, but nothing major. I don't think we went through a transmission that first quarter at all. Just your typical stuff that year. But from the ins and outs throughout the rest of my time there, as trucks got heavier and the shows got bigger, I mean, obviously the damage escalated as well, from 4-link bars, third members, broken knuckles, engines, transmissions, you name it.
So let's go with the okay, so you get back, we're going back to the timeline deal. You get a chance to drive and stuff like that, and you get into one of the older trucks. You know, later down in your timeline, you get into the truck that's right behind you. Now you were doing, a lot of people may not know that you also were doing some car crushes for displays and stuff like that. With that scenario with the car crushes and stuff, that helped you with your driving experience, correct?
Oh, for sure. And that's, that's what I did pretty much primarily the whole first year I was at Bigfoot. Like I said, I did that little car crush the first time I was in a truck in Chico, California with Larry Swim in 19, sorry. But that was only because I think 2 weeks after that, I was scheduled to do my first car crush at a little tire store in Summerfield, North Carolina for Easter weekend in Bigfoot 14, which, like I said, Eric had been driving first quarter. And once first quarter was over, I took over the duties of being in 14 full time. So yeah, I did that. I think I had 3 car crushes. Then I actually went back to crewing, and I went to Poland with J.R. Adams that summer and spent 3 weeks in Europe with him. And then when I came back, I continued to do car crushes the rest of the summer. And I did a couple that had, typically it was for Firestone Tire Stores, was our big customer at the time for car crushes. So some of them had a field next door or something, but I mean, I did some in downtown Las Vegas that 3 cars, parking lot at the store, and if you cleared the cars, you couldn't stop and turn. Um, while that gives you great sense of knowing where you're at, especially translating into the arena, setting later on, uh, you don't really learn a lot about high speed maneuvers in the truck. But I was very fortunate. Went to Canada for 3 weeks on a West Coast swing late that summer, and had some pretty wide open areas and got very comfortable moving the truck at speed through corners and things. And I really tried anything I felt that I was weak on. Once I started doing shows, I would try to practice it at the car crushes because that's what we used them for as a company. Um, but yeah, I made all summer, and I think I did my first show in August in Santa Rosa, California of that summer, and that was just strictly because I was doing car crushes on the West Coast, and I was the closest truck.
Man, West Coast Canada. I wonder if you've been over up my neck of the woods here in Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada. That kind of
I
makes me
actually
wonder.
the big car crush I was talking about was in Wembley.
Oh,
I did the mud run in Wembley. We did a display Friday night at the casino in Grand Prairie, and then went to Wembley for the mud run Saturday, Sunday.
I think I might have been there. I'm trying to remember because
It
I
was
used to live in Wembley, actually, believe it or
okay.
not. And whenever there'd be any, because like I remember helping Kyle Doyle do a display up here in a car crush at the Mudbogs a couple years previous, and all that. So that's actually really cool that you've been up right around where I am. So
Yeah. It would have been Bigfoot 14 with the white Vicor Super Duty body with the black beef cow on the side.
yeah, I was there. I didn't realize that was you. Holy crap,
Yep.
that's cool.
Yep. That was me. That was actually the week after Wembley was the first show I ever did. I went from theirs back down to Santa Rosa, California.
That is awesome. And let's talk about that first show. How was that for you? What and like was it a arena? Was it a speedway? How was that experience?
Oh, so it was actually a small county fair, or well, I say small. Everything in California is huge, population wise, but it was a county fair venue, a smaller, little outdoor arena. Um, it actually was set up that Rick Long was going to be the one driving that show and doing it, and he was flying out west to meet me when I came back out of Canada with the truck. Since I didn't have any experience in shows, he I did all the car crushes. He was going to do the show, and then he was going to fly home. Well, Rick talked to Bob and Ann Trent and decided, well, if Josh has been doing all these car crushes, the truck's set up the way he wants it, why don't you let him go ahead and try to run a show? So I went out west thinking that I was just doing car crushes, and about a week prior to that, got the word that I was just going to go ahead and drive in the show as well. So
All right. So
it
how
worked
was that
out.
experience like?
It was awesome. Rick was there, helped me kind of get through, talk to me. I had done some ATV racing when I was younger, truck and tractor pulling as well. So the competition side of things was a new feeling for me. But I mean, I was nervous. I Same as getting in the truck the first time and everything like that. I mean, very nervous. Knew that the name I had to live up to because working for Bigfoot, while it's great, great trucks, great crew behind you, you live by the name, you die by the name. Um, Fans love you because you're Bigfoot. Fans hate you because you're Bigfoot and think that it's rigged and the Bigfoot wins all the time, and so they want to automatically boo you. So going into it like that, you have a target on your back because all the other drivers, that's who they want to beat is the Bigfoot guy also. So very nerve wracking, but we made it through the weekend. Had a very good weekend. I think I came out with uh, racing wins both nights, wheelie win. So it was very confidence inspiring to run that.
So you did your first show, we're fast forwarding into some highlights and stuff like that. And I remember hearing about you during the show at Rocky Mountain Raceway. And believe you were driving the old classic foot body. Actually, it
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
Rocky Mountain. I mean Wildwood. I'm sorry,
Yep.
Wildwood. And
Oh,
when you had
Wildwood.
that,
Okay.
they talked about, yeah, when they talked about that really, I guess you had a pretty fast run on that sandy surface with the truck body, and people were kind of taking notice of you, how you're driving the foot trucks, and uh, talk about the how you transition as a driver from different materials. You're either running in dirt, concrete, or even sand.
So I guess you're referring to Wildwood when I had the retro '79 body on.
Yeah.
So um, well, right after that Wildwood qualifying run that has so many views on YouTube and was such a big hit at that time. That was still Bigfoot 14, actually, the truck I had been in since I had started. Um, Going back to that, and then we'll go on to the surfaces. But driving in the sand is different than everything else. And at that time, I was so new and wanted to get better. And Wildwood that year, that was the second time I'd been to that venue. That was the only time I had done one twice and knew what I was going into. Um, and there was some things the year prior to that when I drove the black and silver Snakebite truck out at Wildwood that I wanted to improve on, and one of them is I really struggled making a wide corner. So week leading up to Wildwood, we changed the differentials around in the truck a little bit and went out there, and the sand, you know, sand is very forgiving as far as going into a corner. You have to drive it into the corner harder because the sand creates so much drag on the tires that you can really brake late, and it makes your brakes work that much better because the sand's you down as well. So, on that pass, I was like, well, we're gonna see if this works, and I'm gonna try to make a wide corner and see what happens. And pretty much made it through the first turn and was so happy that I came out of it not hitting a turning pole. We just decided that when we go into the second corner, I'm not going to let off the gas, and hopefully it slides a little bit or we're going to be upside down. And it worked out. And to this day, I have so many people go, wow, that was a Bigfoot truck. That's the first time we saw that out of a Bigfoot truck. And, that if anything I've ever done at Bigfoot or driving, that still sticks out in people's minds the most. And I don't know if it's because it was a '79 body, just because it was uncharacteristic, or what it was. Because in my eyes, I look at the Andy Brass stuff, the Gene Patterson, the Dan Runty. I never consider my stuff to be like, oh wow, look at this. But going back to the surfaces, like the concrete floor shows in arenas, some of them are a little bit rougher, and some of them are like a real polished concrete, and that's like driving on ice, wet grass. There's just the truck has no traction. It's very, very different, especially wet grass and mud. I mean, people think the trucks go through the mud great, but there's no surface pressure with the tires being that wide, and they just like to slide around, and very hard to go straight, pick a straight line. Um, but then on the flip side, dirt can be too tacky to where you turn a corner and it automatically wants to go upside down. So it's ever changing, and even through the night, it'll change from round to round, and you really have to pay attention to your to surface a lot more than what people think.
So this next question is kind of a two-part, and it's still kind of staying on the Wildwood thing. Talking about that picture behind you, how did the whole Snakebite Vinny Venom thing come about? And then let's talk about 2016. You and Brandon Budd, that crash. Let's get into it.
Well, okay, so the whole snakebite thing, I like I said, I was a fan when I was younger, like most young boys are. I grew up in the heyday of the Pin to Point series. I mean, I watched TNN or Trucks and Tractor Power every Sunday night would come on at 10:30, and it would usually have the Pin to Point series
Yeah.
every night throughout the early 90s. And when Snakebite originally came out, I hated it. I hated that truck. And Gene Patterson and I have had some great talks about this later in life, now knowing what I know. But as a kid, man, I hated it. I was such an Andy Brass Bigfoot fan that
Same
I
here.
couldn't believe anybody would ever dare try to, beat that truck. And I would say it was probably 93. I want to say, because my grandpa took me down to Midwest Full Drive in Hazelwood to look around, because it had been 93, because I wanted to see if the Wildfoot truck was there, because when 11 debuted with a Wildfoot body, I mean, it was a mind-blowing experience that it wasn't blue and the truck is awesome. And going there, they used to have a lookout. You could look out over the shop, and there was a Snakebite body laying there. And I was still too young to really understand it. And my grandpa was asking people, "Is the Snakebite part of Bigfoot?" And nobody would ever answer that. And years progressed. I remembered the truck from a child, never thought much of it. Well, when I started at Bigfoot, I thought you had to know about monster trucks. So I would sit at home at night and in hotel rooms and read about stuff from my childhood and fill in the blanks of the 20 years I didn't follow it very closely, and found out, the whole Snakebite backstory. So I decided that I wanted to do it, because I remembered it so vividly from my childhood. So the first time I got to do it was Wildwood, 2014. I went out as a second truck with Dan Runty and ran the black, silver, and red body on it, and I actually drove as Little Petey Python. Went out as myself, and Dan had some decals made and didn't know about it and stuck them on the window of the truck before I could notice it. And then the following year, I actually drove it again, Saginaw, Michigan, and there was one other. Oh, Salina, Kansas, and that's where I had my first rollover with both Snakebite bodies. And going into the 2016 season, the 25-year anniversary of Snakebite, I went to the powers to be at Bigfoot and begged to be the Snakebite guy. Like, you know what? Just let me do it. I want to do it right. I want to make it the way it was that I remember from my childhood. So we cut a deal that year with Family Events Promotion Company, and they did 6 or 7 weekends. They were going to have a Snakebite truck. And originally it was going to be Vinnie Viper and do the whole, because I was from Viper Valley, Vermont. It was the East Coast thing. Well, they didn't like it, the Vinnie Viper, so they changed it to Vinnie Venom. And I just kind of went along with it, and that's where that got started.
And the cool thing is like after that run with the 25th anniversary of the Snakebite truck, it continued on, and you're in a I guess a very small club, and with Eric Meager and Gene Patterson and a couple others, winning championships with the Snakebite name, and before we talk about your 2017 run as becoming the champion, how did you pull strings to get what came about the story about the off-road body with the 3D snakehead that you have, like the picture behind you? Because we always see the truck with the Super Duty, or whatever main truck. What turned wrenches to put the Snakebite body on a new gen Bigfoot truck with the off-road back end?
So basically, like I said, we started out 25th anniversary in 2016, and this was a year coming to get to that body. We had started out that year, only had 6 dates booked as a snake truck, and we thought we were going to do those 6 and go away. So I ended up having Gene Patterson come to the shows with me first quarter, and help me hype it up. And at the time, Bigfoot had just cut a deal with Traxxas, so we were cutting a lot of promotional videos for Traxxas. And on the side, I was doing Snakebite RC truck videos for Traxxas, and Gene Patterson was helping me. And we had a little Snakebite mini monster truck, one of the Carter carts, and we had it repainted the retro red to match the full size truck. And we would go to the arenas, and Gene would just ride around in that Carter cart, just helping me push the Snakebite thing. And it became a hit bigger than I could have ever imagined it being. Like you said, I mean, the Eric Meager, the Gene Patterson, the guys that won championships in that truck, it's unbelievable how you can push it to the side for years, bring it back with paint schemes that the older generation don't know, once or twice a year, go 2 years without seeing the truck, and then bring it back as a red and yellow truck, and people go crazy. It has such a cult following that it's hard to understand that outside the monster truck world, there's a lot of dads that still know that truck from their childhood. So we went through that year, and we just started picking up dates. And I want to say at the end of it, I ran 38 weekends as a Snakebite truck that year, when we started out the year thinking it was going to be 6. So coming out of first quarter, they wanted to book it for the Jamborees. And with Dan Runty retiring at the end of first quarter and Larry Swim stepping up to Bigfoot 21, I was moving into 18, and at the time, well, even now, with the updated roll cage after the Brandon Budd incident, the roll cage, you could not fit a Super Duty body on Bigfoot 18, the concussion chassis. So we had to figure something out in a hurry. We had talked about the idea of the off-road truck with the snake front clip, but didn't know if it would ever fit. I want to say, doing a car crush or somewhere down in Georgia, and got a couple text messages from the paint shop guys, and they had it mocked up together and said the front clip will fit. We just had to trim the doors a little bit. It's almost a direct bolt on. Here's some pictures of the truck mocked up, and I've got some really neat pictures of a primered snake head with Bigfoot doors and a couple different paint scheme body panels. Went out to the stack of wrecked bodies out back and pulled, well, this door was good, this bedside was good, and they mocked the whole truck up together that way. And from there, I think it took them 4 days between that picture and the body was on the truck, ready to go to Lima, Ohio for its debut that year.
And that must have been so cool for you, having kind of the new generation Snakebite, I call it, with the off-road, style body. And how was it running in the Jamborees, bringing the Snakebite name back to that, with the classic red and yellow vibe?
It was awesome. The Jamborees are definitely a different experience. Just with, you sit there all day, people come by the trucks, and it's not just a pit party show, autographs, okay, we're going to go do our own thing. You're there all day. People are constantly stopping by. You walk by and talk to everybody. It's a very family-friendly atmosphere. And at the time, we were only doing Lima, Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, and Indianapolis, Indiana. So it wasn't what it once was with Canfield and everywhere else, but it was still neat to be able to do three weekends a year doing the Jamborees. And while I would have wished it was the classic Penda two jump straight line racing, by the time it was over in 2016 we did run straight line, and then 2017 we went back to straight line racing as well. But that was really neat. That first show that I debuted, that off-road Baja Snake or whatever you want to call it, it was kind of cool because that was more of my identity of the Spite. Gene Patterson had the classic red and yellow, and Eric's kind of the green and yellow was Eric's kind of look that he was more known for in the Snakebite truck. While Eric did have a lot of time in a red and yellow truck, and Dan is Ricky Rattler, and a lot of other guys, Lonnie, to name a few, but nobody had done the off-road body yet. So I got to do that, and then actually that first weekend at Lima, Ohio, when we debuted it, Saturday afternoon, they did some televised stuff for Lucas Oil, and I actually took home a racing win that day, which was really exciting.
So yeah, mix pretty much that 2016 season was high and low with that off-road body, and like Brad said, we'll talk about the Wildwood incident, and we'll go in depth on that. You know, you're about to line up against Brandon Budd and Red Solo Truck, and round that final turn, and probably the situation happened so fast. You know, what was going through your mind, I guess, after the situation happened? Thank goodness you're all right, by the way.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
Yeah.
it was so going back. I guess the lead up story would have been the previous year with the run you were speaking of earlier with the retro body. Like I said, Wildwood was always a big venue for me, or location, just because that was the first time I got to drive a truck, to where I wasn't really held back. Was go out, have fun. If you're comfortable with it, drive. The year I went with Dan in 2014, Dan Runty pretty much told me, "Hey man, just whatever you're comfortable with, go." And I looked at him like, "Well, you're not gonna get mad if I drive over my head, so to speak." And he's like, "No, if you're comfortable, go ahead." So going into it, the year you were speaking of, the qualifying run, I had this whole different mentality. Like, hey, I'm going to actually show that I belong out here, and ran really hard that night. Had that great qualifying run that everybody, you know, was so ecstatic about. But I hurt the motor in the truck that night. Um, we went into the first show knowing the engine was hurt, but we didn't want to tear it apart and fix it out on the beach with sand blowing around, and didn't make it through the show. Motor lost the bearings, missed freestyle that show. Luckily, we had a Bigfoot 15 out there, so I unloaded it out of the trailer, tired it up, and I actually drove 15 the rest of that weekend, with some other mechanical breakage Saturday night and freestyle. But then we went into Sunday and had an awesome day. So going into the next year in 2016 with, or I guess 2015 with Snakebite, 2016, sorry. I didn't want to tear the truck up before Sunday. Sunday at Wildwood was always double points, and I'd had so many issues making it through the weekend before. I was wanting to save the truck, so was trying to just drive it hard enough to win. And prior to that round with Brandon had been having rear steer issues all night long. And he comes by me in the pits, and I had been making some pretty clean passes, and several people knew that the truck had more in it. And Brandon goes, "Hey man, my steering's messed up. Don't make me look bad." And we just kind of joked and hung out, because Brandon's a great guy, and I really enjoy running shows with him and a lot of those guys that we always got to hang out with, and we always messed with each other. So we line up on the line, and we go through the first corner, and I kind of just check up a little bit, make sure the truck's square for the next two jumps, thinking that he's having steering issues. However, and I don't want to just burn the truck down or take a stupid penalty or roll over and not make the finals. And I come into the last corner, and I was on the outside, which is my preferred lane at Wildwood, was to be on the outside of the last corner. And I pitched it in sideways, and I could see just out of the corner of my eye Brandon coming into the inside of that corner, which is shorter, so he's right there. And you can't see much out of those trucks. I mean, anybody that's ever been in one, around one, knows that, especially with a Hans device on and everything, you can basically see from windshield pillar to windshield pillar. So I saw him for a second. out of the corner of my eye, and then I lost him. Didn't know where he was. So, and by that point, I had already decided, okay, we'll see what the truck's got in it, and it was on the floorboard, and we were going to the finish line. Well, I guess Brandon had a clean corner, and his steering was working great up until that moment, and then we hit the finish line jump, and whether it hooked a rut or I think his steering issues came back is no fault of his by any means, but we left the ramp and it just kicked sideways, and I never heard him, never saw him, anything after that last corner until he was in the side of me in midair and went tumbling. And like I said, it's racing. No fault of his. We were both running hard. Brandon's a great guy, and I'm just glad we both walked away from it. I mean, I've got head-on video. I actually had an in-cab camera that night in the truck that I have some onboard footage of before the camera got ripped off the roll cage. But luckily, I landed on the wheels. If you watch some of the videos of it, I jumped out and I was the first guy to Brandon. And man, when I got to him, he was already unbuckled and his helmet was caught in the seat, his Hans and his helmet. And I thought something happened and he came loose because he was kicking his legs, and I didn't know what to think. I was just in a panic, but luckily he got out. He actually made the next round and freestyled the truck, and we both walked away and can laugh and joke about it today.
Well, you said something interesting there when you were, when you were there with Dan, and Dan was like, run as comfortable as you want. A lot of people had a misconception of Bigfoot, and, Bigfoot always saves their equipment. They don't run hard. They don't push their trucks. They don't bust their butts. You proved on the qualifying run in 2015 in Retrofoot, hey, these guys are here to win. These guys are still here. They're not laying down for anybody. They're going to push their equipment as hard as they want. I think that's why people were shocked about it, because, I remember watching that. I'm like, holy crap. He's running the absolute snot out of that thing.
Yeah. I mean, I will say I never once had anybody at Bigfoot ever tell me to pull it back a little bit or only run 75%. I mean, it was always run with what you're comfortable with. And then as things progressed and I had more seat time, I mean, there was times the bosses were like, run it for everything it's got. I mean, there were times we would put fresh engines in with fresh superchargers and make sure everything was on point to go. They're not holding anything back. Several times would go out and tear a truck up engine-wise because we were running them so hard that I can remember putting bearings in them, doing engine swaps, 4:30 in the morning at some of these racetracks outdoors, and the sun's starting to peak up, the next morning, and we're just getting the truck fired up again to make sure we could make the Saturday show. So, I mean, there are some people, and I've heard it too, that, oh, Bigfoot saves their stuff, or they just run just hard enough to get by. I can say after all the time that went into the 2017 season, specifically first quarter with Larry Swim and I, there was a lot of lost sleep that year. I mean, we ran those trucks as hard as you could. I mean, there wasn't much left on the table. We had enough lost sleep and things going on that year to definitely vouch for that. And I'm sure Bigfoot could pull a lot of parts receipts and gripe about that as well.
Well, that's why I'm leaning towards the 2017 season of the Toughest Monster Truck Tour. Outside of you and Larry, you also had Aaron Kane and Jerry Beck, and I'm thinking about the other two.
Derek Hansen. Derek Hansen was there that year. And then, we had Basher, and you never knew who was driving Basher, whether it was Kevin Lewis or Stevie or Tim Jones made a couple appearances that year.
But I was talking about how hard that season, I think, put the naysayers of Bigfoot to prove to them that you guys have some of the toughest equipment known to man and some of the best trucks out there. with the Toughest Monster Truck Tour, because I think that year, that 2017 year, is proving to people in general today that Toughest Monster Truck Tour arena show is probably the best arena show out there right now for fans to watch. And a lot of people have been talking about that because of how hard, I believe, in the 2017 year, of how hard you, Larry, Jerry, Aaron, Derek, and whoever was driving Basher put on shows, just for the championships that you guys pulled through, which you pulled through and gave Snakebite, I believe it's third or fourth championship as a truck. So talk about that season, and was your main goal, I mean everyone's main goal, but to win the championship, but with you, with the Snakebite name and everything like that, was it pushed you even more to try to get that championship?
Yeah, I mean, so going off of that, up until um, I was always the fill-in Bigfoot truck. I got to run Jamborees with Dan and Larry. Then when I was Snakebite, I didn't have a lot of pressure on me as far as a driver. I wanted to do a great job for the fans, a great job for the name of the truck, the company, but everybody knew, oh, it's Larry Swim, it's Bigfoot. He had the name on his back in the bullseye. Well, going into that 2017 first quarter, Dan Runty had won the Toughest Monster Truck Tour every year leading up to that. And Dan is a phenomenal driver. Dan is ultra smooth. I mean, just an all around good dude. Um, the equipment Dan had was also top notch and, reliable. And the name of the game in that Toughest Monster Truck Tour, with the shows being as tough as they are, is just simply make every round. It goes off a point system, and if you miss a round, you lose enough points that it is detrimental to your overall for the year. So that 2017 year was such a magical year. I mean, even this year, filling in for them, the promoter Kelly and Dave, Brian Manson that runs the track, the other drivers that were there that year, the media guys, all talk about how that year was still probably the greatest Toughest Monster Truck Tour year to date, just with Aaron Kane and Jerry running as hard as they were, Larry trying to keep the Bigfoot name on top to take over after Dan, and then I came in with equal equipment to Larry. I mean, I had the Bigfoot program behind me, the awesome equipment, and I was just out there driving, doing what I could do to prove to people that I should be there. I mean, prove to myself. I still, I mean, would be like, oh wow, I get to line up against Mark Hall, or I get to line up against Larry Swim. I was so excited to be the new guy and get to go the places and drive the equipment that I got to drive. From racing against Jimmy Cretin, Jim Kohler, Mark, Larry, Dan. I was always like, wow, I got them next round. Holy cow, I hope I keep it close. And by 2017 and that first quarter, I had thought to myself, I wonder if anybody ever thinks when they go out to race me, if they're like, oh wow, hopefully, and if they did or not, I was just looking for a little respect, I guess, so to speak, just trying to prove to myself that I belonged. So 2017 was awesome. I mean, those guys ran hard. I got on top early. The first weekend out was South Haven, Mississippi. Larry rolled over in racing, first round, and I went on to overall event champion that first show. So that was a great confidence booster that I could go run these shows and compete with those guys. And it was all year. I mean, it was back and forth. We had some breakage. I mean, we were R&Ding new parts, trying to make the trucks better all year. And that's one thing a lot of people don't see. Speaking of how tough the trucks are and the Bigfoot program, they think the trucks remained the same for 20 years. I will say from mid 2016 to the end of first quarter 2017, I think we had 6 different revisions on the planetaries and knuckle setups on the ZF axles that we were having custom made, just because we were finding weak spots and exposing weaknesses that we never exposed until that point. And went on, and that's ultimately what pushed me and Snakebite to the champion that year, was keeping the truck in one piece. Aaron Kane, man, that guy. Aaron's an awesome dude. Talked to him a couple weeks ago. He would send a truck into orbit that year for an arena. I mean, some of the air he was getting in arenas were crazy. Larry, always tough. I think almost every show Larry and I were in the finals for racing that year. I can think of 3 times all first quarter. But Larry and I pushed it hard enough that even when we had some bad nights as far as losing early on and losing points, our trucks held together, and that's what kept us at the top. But yeah, Aaron, Jerry, Derek Anson, Basher, whoever was in it that night. That year, you could never count anybody out. Anybody could go out and win wheelies, racing, or freestyle any given night. So it was definitely like this magical year, and was very happy to be a part of it.
So we go up to that pretty much the 2017 year. It seemed like you were the flagship, obviously the flagship driver of the Snakebite truck. If you saw a Snakebite somewhere around, you're pretty much going to be the one behind the wheel. You drove the truck again for the 4-wheel drive Jamborees. Now, I like to hear the story about this because I started working for Jerry and Aaron in late 2017 when I did the Indianapolis Jamboree. I wake up in the morning, I'm detailing the trucks, and I see you morning media. And the only other time I've seen another monster truck did this was Adam Anderson in 2013 at Lake Erie Speedway. And someone already commented on the chat about it before I even said anything or even mentioned about it. But what's the story, and how did it come up with you drifting around Indianapolis's parking lot with Snakebite, just going full boogaloo and having fun?
So
in morning media.
my favorite driver. So I know exactly what clip you're talking about. I've watched it numerous times. I love Donald's driving style in Titan. Donald drifts corners, he runs lockers front and rear, spool, and I think part of that is like going way back to the beginning of our conversation. I wore Donald's fire suit the first crush I did, and got to meet Donald very early on. Never got to run any shows with him as a driver, but his driving style was always something that I enjoyed watching. From back in my younger days of turning 16, I live in a rural community. I mean, we have a lot of gravel dirt roads, so was always sliding the truck around the roads and wherever. So was very comfortable with that. And then going to the Lake Erie Speedway clip you're referencing, so many times I would watch that and wonder, could we get a Bigfoot truck to do that? And there were so many people that said, "Oh, you'll never happen. We've never seen a Bigfoot truck do it. It can't happen." So at some of these car crushes, I had practiced doing it in dirt, and then Wildwood in the sand had worked on it, and some more forgiving surfaces where I knew the truck would slide. The 2015 year at Indy, I tried it out a little bit. In 14, there was some water, so I would drive through the puddle of water and get the tires wet and try it. So I knew the water would help it slide, and just worked my way up to it, because it's such a weird feeling that you're just going to throw this thing into a corner wide open and hope that it starts sliding and doesn't want to roll over. So by 2017, I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. No water on the tires, no mud on the track. Let's go see if we can do it enough to get some tire smoke off of it, like Adam had done. And did a little bit there. And then even by Sunday afternoon show of that weekend, I had decided, I think by that point I had already wrapped up the freestyle championship for the year, because to a lot of people that doesn't gain you freestyle points. That they want to see the big air, the slap wheelies, the other stuff. But me as a driver, I had decided by that point, you know what, I've always wanted to try this. I want to do it, see if it could be done, even if it doesn't gain you a bunch of points. I think the crowd will enjoy it because it's a different look. And that was honestly probably one of the funnest moments my last year of driving, because I went out there to do it, to see if it could be done. It was trying something new.
So
Yeah.
I want to ask this question because I know Cheech has met this man and he obviously worked at Bigfoot with you. I want to bring up if you have any stories about Lurch, Ron Bachman. I've heard stories from Cheech about the pretzels. Cheech actually just got a pretzel at the Hot Wheels Monster Truck Live show, and it just reminded me of that.
I did see that.
Do you have any stories of Lurch and the
Man,
kind of man that guy was?
I do. I have. I don't even know where to start with that. I have so many stories of Lurch. Ron and I were very close the years that we worked together. Ron kind of took me in like I was his kid, basically, when I started at Bigfoot, and I would aggravate him so much, and everybody'd be like, "You better watch out. Ron's gonna rip your head off," or how are you doing it? He's so big. And I think that a lot of people had this persona of Ron because he was such a big guy, and he intimidated people, and I just treated him like one of our own, and I think he really appreciated that, because I think for a long time, in his whole life, people had looked at him just by size, and dude, Ron was awesome. Ron actually would go with me first quarter. The year I drove Snakebite for the 25th anniversary in 2015, Ron went to every first quarter show with me, and not. I mean, he went to crew, but I didn't make Ron work. He just enjoyed running down the road in the semi, telling all of his stories, and we had a lot of fun. I mean, Ron had so many stories that he would tell you of all the places he had been, from times he went to Japan, and the doorways of the hotels were really short, and he had to duck to walk through every one of them. To he went to he was going to California for a display one time, and he got to Kingman, Arizona, I believe, and it got canceled on him. And Bob Trent at Bigfoot was so scared to call him and tell him it was canceled. He called him, told him his display was canceled. He can come home, and just hung up the phone on him. And Ron will tell you, he turned around and never stopped the whole way back to St. Louis. And by the time he got back to the shop, the turbo on the truck was glowing red, and he was so mad they were chasing each other around the truck in the parking lot. I mean, there was great stories. I mean, I got to spend, I would say, more miles on the road with Ron than anybody else the 4 years I was at Bigfoot. We got pulled over by DOT in Illinois one time. I stopped by, picked Ron up at his house on my way to Madison, Wisconsin, and because Ron lived on the Illinois side of the river, and we were cutting through the country back to the interstate, and got stopped. And the whole time in the truck, Ron's telling me that, I don't know what we'll do. Well, once we got away and everything was all right, Ron had twisted it around that he's the one that called the DOT to pull me over just to make me nervous. Now, whether or not it was true, who knows? Because while we were sitting in the truck, he was texting a friend of his that lives somewhere close, because Ron knew everybody and actually knew the name of the officer and called him by his name when he came back up to the truck after looking at my logbook. But yeah, he was always doing stuff like that. And Cheech talk about the pretzels. I mean, Ron would always go get him a bag of popcorn, or I got to where I would start carrying a Mountain Dew and a Snickers bar, and I would leave it in the semi for him. And no, I don't want it. I don't want it. Well, you come out after the show, it was always gone. But he didn't want it when you offered it to him.
Nope.
But I mean, from making T-shirts, teasing Ron, because Ron used to really enjoy ghost hunting and was a huge ghost hunter. First time we went to Atlanta in 2014 for the 40-year anniversary and had all the trucks at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I screen printed this shirt with a picture of white Sasquatch coming out of a 66-inch Firestone with the Ghostbusters logo, like the red circle and stuff, and put Ron's name on the back of it, and would just wear it around to aggravate Ron. Because he would tell Dick, he would go to the office and he'd be like, "Who am I going with this week? I don't want to go with Josh." And he would tell me all the time, "I don't want to go with you. I'm going to tell him not to send me." But he'd run right in the office and make sure that we were going together and we were sharing a hotel room, because that was just the guy he was.
Did you ever hear the story about how he tricked me on getting a pretzel, Josh?
No, I don't think I had.
Okay, so we were doing a show at Casper, Wyoming.
Okay.
And it's me, Phil, and Lurch, and we're just sitting. You know how the arch that I kind of like the stadium, the arena. This has that overpass, and then the pillars and the trucks kind of parked.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Underneath of that.
Yeah, I love the building in Casper. Yeah.
So we're just chilling there, and Ron goes, "Man, you know what'd be good? What? A gosh darn pretzel." And he didn't say gosh darn, but he said that.
Right.
A gosh darn pretzel.
OGD.
I bet you this. He goes, "I bet you this arena doesn't have one." Cheech, yeah. Find out. I bet you this arena doesn't have a pretzel. Any pretzels. I bet your arenas doesn't have it. I'm like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Find me one." They're in the pit party. All right. So I go ahead and search, and there's like freaking, pretzel stand there, and I just got him one. He's like, "Gosh darn it, they do have them." And he just starts he just starts eating it, and I just kind of, I felt like one of those like things from like a Looney Tunes. I turned into a donkey, and I was like, "Yeah, that's okay," but that ever since then, throughout the shows until, that throughout the 18th season, Lurch was there anyway, so I always got him a pretzel, and he's like, "Oh, thank you," and he always ate it. But it was just funny because he knew, and dang well they sell pretzels in arenas. Like, I haven't been to one arena that hasn't sold a pretzel. So I mean,
it's like he had like a secret. He had a secret book of every arena that had a pretzel stand. So he sees the schedule. Okay, I can get pretzel here. I can get pretzel here.
Well, that's the reason why at any arena that I go to and I buy a pretzel, I take a picture of it. And if a Bigfoot was there, I take a picture with next to the truck. It doesn't matter if I'm wearing a Hall Brothers crew shirt, I'm still doing it. So because we were friends throughout that season, and for the short time that I knew him, it felt like a long time. So all the stories and stuff like that. He told me a story that one time he went with Tim Hall. They went to a Waffle House, and it said the sign says "Paychecks here," and he goes to the waitress. He says, "I'm here for my check." And the lady's like, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Paychecks here. I need my paycheck. So give me my paycheck."
It just seems that Ron was that gentle giant type, like you said, he seemed intimidating, and I can understand that. I'm 6 foot tall. I'm 300 pounds. People look at me. I'm a big dude. They think I'm intimidating, but I'm just a giant teddy bear. I can kind of relate to that. And that's kind of how Ron seemed, how he was.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Ron didn't realize how strong he was, even as he had gotten older. Ron would think that he's just messing with you a little bit, just horsing around, but he was so much bigger and so much stronger that it's like, whoa, you're actually hurting me this time. And I mean,
that freaky old man strength guys get when you get older.
But going back to that, and what Cheech was saying, and you guys about Ron probably had a book with the arenas and what arena you get a pretzel. I wouldn't put it past him. Ron was the guy, and I'm very much the same way, so I'm not knocking it a bit. But Ron would get a schedule, and he would have it mapped out for like 5 weeks. I'm stopping here at this hotel. I'm going to eat dinner at this place. I'm getting fuel right here. It could be 4 weeks away, not even have a contract back that he was going to that city, 100%. And Ron would already know what hotel he was staying in, what time he was getting there, what time he was leaving the next morning, where he was going to stop and get diesel fuel. I mean, he was very, very planned out on every bit of that. And so he might have a book of, concession stands in arenas.
I wouldn't put. Like you said, I wouldn't put it past him. But
No.
I think I have never been to a stadium or arena yet that has not sold pretzels. So I don't know why. I just went with it, but still, in the back of my head, I'm like, he got me. Whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I miss Ron dearly. Like I said, I spent some of my greatest memories at Bigfoot were with Ron. And you talking about taking a picture with the truck and a pretzel now every time you get one. 2019. So I quit full time in October of 2017. I was called back in 2019. I did Youngstown, Ohio, and Casper, Wyoming, when Larry Swim was having knee surgery. And that year, Ron had already passed. But going back to the Snickers and the Mountain Dew thing, I'd buy a Snickers and a Mountain Dew and set it on the pit cart every night for the show. And, whether it was the people cleaning the building at night or something else going on, every morning the Snickers and the Mountain Dew were gone. So I'd go buy another one and set it back on the cart. And I don't think I made it out of a weekend still having one left. But even
I think also mentally, Josh, that was probably emotional for you because it just kind of goes back memories that Ron kind of was like still there. You know what I mean? Because
oh
you
yeah,
buy it and put it in the rig, and then all of a sudden it's disappeared, and he got it. Well, in the different
right.
scenario, he's gone, but you still kept the momentum going. Let's just say, but someone else is doing it, but still in your mind, it's like Ron's still doing okay. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. I mean, and go back that year. So that was 2019. I ran 3 shows, won 3 overall trophies for toughest tour that year. Ended up going on to win substitute driver of the year or fill-in driver of the year at the awards banquet, and it was between me and Dan Runty, which how I could ever beat Dan at anything. He's the GOAT, but I got that, and everybody always said Ron was riding with you, to come back after not being in a truck for a year and a half and step right back into taking off where I took off or left off at the toughest tour in Loveland of the 17th season, and then I filled in this year a couple weekends as well, and I know the second to last show I did in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, that truck should have been on its lid, and it was like Ron was sitting there holding it up off the floor a couple times, over on the sidewalls, and somehow saved it. So, stranger things have happened. Ron was always hunting ghosts and talking about that. I think he was, just meeting new friends and getting them ready. He was training them.
Did you ever done a ghost hunt, or do you ever was always curious on doing one of those deals?
So I had one opportunity, more to do it. Ron invited me over to Jerseyville, Illinois, which is about an hour from me. I was on the Missouri side of the river, about 45 minutes northwest of St. Louis. Ron's about 45 minutes northeast of St. Louis. He invited me over one Friday night to go ghost hunting with him at the Cheney Mansion in Jerseyville, which is a haunted mansion right there close to where he lives. And I had something else going on, and I didn't make it. to go ghost hunting with him, and then never really had another opportunity arise to where we were both off at the same time and in town together to do it. But I would have loved to do it. I always heard stories that you going back to being a giant teddy bear and Ron, being that person. They said any kind of paranormal activity or anything, Ron was the first one to scream like a girl and go running the other way. So. But
hey, I'm that same way. Like, even if I see a spider, I'm running the other way and I'm telling my girlfriend to kill the damn thing. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm that same way.
But yeah, I mean, Ron, him and his wife Michelle, they actually they got married in the Cheney Mansion. It was like the first wedding since the '80s that somebody had been married in there. Ron was very big into that. I think that was his biggest hobby for sure, outside of monster trucks. I mean, he had done monster trucks for so many years and whatnot, and touched so many people. He never had an illustrious racing career, and I really feel like that's what keeps him out of the monster truck Hall of Fame and things such as that. But the amount of places Ron has been, the people that he's worked alongside, been with, I mean, was phenomenal with that guy. I mean, from being one of the first people that ever took a truck overseas to, just the people he's met, and he did a lot of the legwork with the promotional side of a truck that, wasn't even around back then. He kind of was a forefather of that, so to speak. But, no, another thing.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Josh. I was about to say, behind the scenes with the Firestones and Summit and even Ford, a lot of these corporate people would see him first before anyone else, and him representing the team that you worked on, and the team that he's been with since his whole career. Him being that representative, that brand ambassador for Bigfoot with these people, have to also say the duty that he did was awesome, because some of the sponsorships are still today with the team.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you couldn't have said it better yourself. And then just going back to Ron was a very memorable guy. Whether it was the stories that he told or everybody knew him as the big man, the big guy. There was places I had gone to. I mean, almost every tire store that I ever went to, if it hadn't just been built, the people were like, "Oh yeah, we had Bigfoot 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 2 years ago." It didn't matter. I'm like, "Oh yeah, who'd you have?" I don't remember his name, but he was the big guy, the real big guy. It was always Ron. I mean, I don't think I'd ever been to a display that Ron hadn't already been to, or if the owners were opening a new store, but they had an old store. Oh, everybody knew Ron, and it was never had somebody say a bad thing about him. I mean, everything was always great.
So this will probably be my last question. What has been your favorite event you've ever raced at?
Ooh.
Or like coolest venue or something like that?
That's a really tough question. Coolest venue, for sure, I would probably have to say Rocky Mountain Raceway, West Valley City, Utah. That very fortunate, got to run that twice before they tore it down. Wildwood, New Jersey really sticks out to me as far as it all goes back to memorable moments, and I had so many good moments in Wildwood, from people I met to the retro qualifying pass to running the rest of that weekend in 15, the crash with Brandon Budd, which isn't a very great memory at times, but I always enjoyed going to Wildwood. The sand was terrible. So much work. Your legs were sore after walking through it all weekend. It made every simple task twice as long. It was hard on the trucks. But I will say I had some really, really great times in Wildwood, New Jersey. at the Monsters on the Beach.
So my last question is actually not monster truck related. I know you stepped away, do some fill-ins, but you have done some pulling with your. Do you still have that Ram truck? And how's that been going for you?
That's been going well. So actually, that was a precursor to the monster truck thing, and kind of got back into it. I actually started pulling that truck in July of 2005, when it was brand new, and the diesel truck pulling scene was very relatively new in the Midwest and the United States, and as a whole. But yeah, I took some time off from that doing the monster truck thing. Obviously, don't have much time to do your own thing in the summer because you're always on the road. But in the last couple of years, I have gotten back into it pretty competitively. Have a great association that's started up here in the Eastern Missouri, in the last couple of years, and has really taken off and has some trucks in my classes. I actually was the points champion for my diesel class in Eastern Missouri this year. We didn't really run a championship series last year with COVID shortened schedules and things such as that, but 2 years ago, I actually won the points championship doing that year as well. So looking to maybe do some upgrades again this winter. Last winter, I put a new engine package together. So this winter, rules being is Saturday night. Once we get those hashed out for next year, I may change classes a little bit and try to travel a little more with the truck. But no, I'm enjoying it. It's something that I really enjoy, and definitely takes the motorsports place of the monster trucks for me to keep me occupied.
Well, is there any social media that fans can follow you on, follow your pulling stuff on?
Not really. I mean, the Eastern Missouri Truck Pullers has a Facebook page with some standings. There's not very many videos of that going on right now. I think they're going to work on that for this upcoming season, for sure, as far as that goes. And then Vinny Venom still has a Facebook page. It's not updated very often, but it has some older videos and pictures. Going back to the OffRoad Body Snakebite, I think there's still a YouTube video of there that I made, kind of showing the transformation from the old body to the new body on 18. If you guys want to check that out, and then that's about it, really. I mean, just normal Instagram, Facebook, and Bigfoot posts. I think there's been a couple lately with the newer blue Power Wheels themed flame paint job that we ran for the toughest monster truck tour this year.
That's pretty cool, man. Well, once again, hopefully you get back behind the wheel here, and hopefully see you around. Once again, thank you.
No, you're welcome. Thank you guys for coming out and having me on your show.
Definitely, man.
Man, thank you. All right, man. Thank you, and once again, see you around.
All right, see you guys.
Man, that was an awesome episode.
Yes, that's Mr. Josh Gibson. Wanna let you people know that once again next week, Brad's gonna do a Hanging Brad Tuesday night, and Sunday night on Facebook Live and YouTube, I'm gonna be on satellite location at the Monster Truck Hall of Fame. Monster Truck Hall of Fame is going on between 6 to 10. There's not going to be any RCs. There's just going to be a bunch of gatherings and hanging out. I'm going to have my mic. I'm going to bring my traveling earphones with me and do that live verification. And then you're going to have a bunch of people come back. So I'm kind of doing the idea like a WWE Live Access, NHRA at Live Access. Just people stopping by. Just come on along. There could be some feedback. Just giving you a heads up. I may not have the technology like some people do. So just bear with us if there's, different things going on, but my mic can pick up a lot of things. So I'll try to get settings and stuff like that. Give me some feedback and stuff. But for that, it's just going to be that episode. It could be as long as it's going on. It's not going to be audio.
It's going to be video only, right?
Yep. YouTube, Facebook Live. That is it. I'm
sad I can't be there though.
Right. Well, you always can pop in. The thing is fans, if you're gonna try to think that I'm gonna give you guys a sneak peek, it's not gonna happen. For me getting able to get this satellite deal, there's gonna be maybe a couple trucks that's already at the Hall of Fame that you guys already saw debuted. It already happened. If you want to watch the debut, they have it on Facebook. But it's just gonna be the Hall of Fame background, maybe some other stuff going on, but anything that's coming in, anything that anybody, maybe the only thing is if someone's new, I'll show up, but anybody's bringing a truck or something that has to keep private, I'm sorry guys, you won't be able to see it until the Hall of Fame releases it. So basically all you're going to get a chance is it's a big kicking it old school episode. So it's like the Super Bowl. That Daytona 500 of kicking it old school.
I'm hoping next year to be there. Unfortunately, just with the circumstances right now, with me not having a job and finances, I'm not able to be there at the Hall of Fame this year. But I'm hoping next year, with everything kind of picking up right now for me personally, just job interviews and stuff like that, I'm hoping to be there next year. As far as the stream for next Tuesday, it could be gaming. I could possibly have an interview. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. You guys will find out. It's going to be fun. If we're going to be gaming, it's going to be the new game, Riders Republic. Check it out. It's such a fun game.
All right, cool deal. It's hard to find out the secret details. Well, to some people, I guess it was easy to find out secret details when you took a picture of Hercules before. Not you, Chris, but I'm saying someone took a picture of Hercules before they released it, and the truck was out already. So, can't wait to see you guys. I'm just gonna. I'm going to have my computer and mic head set up. So obviously that's going to tell you what's going on. And I'll start at 6:00, sit down, start BSing, start having some conversations, have a good time, and maybe hear some stories. Go from there and see whoever wants to hang out. So it's going to be a good time.
I'll probably pop in a little bit here and there during that stream. So, just to hang out with y'all.
Oh yeah, you're more welcome to, and go from there. But pretty much the problem is they're not gonna be able to hear you. I'll be able to hear you.
You'll have to relay my questions.
Yeah, so that's the thing is like I heard rumors that like having multiple mics on USB is kind of bad, so it's better to go aux and a mixer and stuff like that. And I don't have time to do that crap. No. So Brad, if you want to ask questions and stuff like that, we gotta relay the thing. But the cool thing is when I plug this headset into this mic, I can hear feedback. These Skull Candies, which they're kind of like former like AirPod type deals.
Yeah.
I put in my ear for a cleaner look, but I can't hear myself through this mic. So pretty much I can hear you.
But you can't hear any in your surroundings.
Yeah.
So
that's why I'm bringing these, so I can hear surroundings, hear people talking, stuff like that. So, and I got my hotspot on my phone, so I'll be able to get some internet hooked up. So I'll be set and ready to go. But
you guys are getting double the crush this next week, so it's going to be exciting.
Twofer.
You're getting a twofer.
Being a twofer. But so next Tuesday is a hanging out with Brad, and then you'll see me Friday night. So anything else, Brad? Once again, thank you to all the people. J Concepts, High Octane Coffee, Justin Stories, JBCO Graphics, 6B Apparel, Back Channel Productions, and who else am I forgetting? I don't know, but thank you so much for everyone that helps out. Once again, November 20th is the HPR Classic RC Racing / open house if you want to stop by. If you want to be part of it, I have an event page that you can follow. If you want to run, it's $10 for the first truck, $5 after. There's 4 classes: retro, which is kind of the late 80s through the early 90s leaf sprung trucks. Sport mod is the Penna days to the 2000s, pro mods today, LMT classes if you have an LMT. There's going to be a show and shine. There's going to be all sorts of things going on. Put your trucks in there if you want to join, race. Doors open at 9 o'clock, but racers be there around 7:30 a.m. To get ready. People come in around 9 o'clock. So come by, have fun, have a good time, and we'll go from there. But once again, guys, follow me also at Dan Cheech Agosh on Facebook, Instagram, also on Snapchat, Dan Agosh 10. Pretty much I post nothing. But outside of that, that's me, Dan Agosh RC. Go check that out on Facebook and Instagram. I put mostly on my personal page. Also, Crush This, our YouTube, our Facebook. Also, thank you for the 5-star likes on iTunes, Spotify. Really, it was pretty cool doing last week's episode with Scott Douglas. That helped us out on the program. Brad's getting some designs kicking up for some t-shirts that we're going to try to put out for next year. It's almost the end of it, so we're going to do that stuff. And we'll produce more stuff for mention. Also, right there, Brad has the
retro wave design.
New retro crew shirts. They're $100 a pop. Message me or Brad. And
give me a second. Give me a second. I can show off the other one. Give me
Outside of that,
give me a second. I just have it over here.
Outside of that, oh, okay. Brad's leaving.
Where is it? Aha. I just gotta button it up. Hold on. Give me
Sorry for being quiet.
few more seconds.
So I don't know why he took off, but once again, folks, thank you again. I think he's coming back, is he? Oh, there it is. There's the old school logo one too. So if you guys want either, yours ain't gonna have a name on the back of it. But anyway, before we go, Brad, you got anything else?
Yeah, as I always like to say, check up on your friends and family. Mental health is very important. It's near and dear to my heart. It's something that I go through myself. So if you're having any issues, any problems, feel free to reach out to me. I'm here. I'll listen. I might not have the answers, but I can definitely be an ear to you guys if you're going through some struggles, especially with the holiday seasons coming up. So as for social media, you can follow me at the Monster Truck Canucker. You can also find me on Facebook, Bradley Shaw Designs. I'm doing some stuff with 6B right now, Renegade Tour, and so I have some possible designs coming up. So keep an eye out for that, guys. I'm excited. And as for next week, like I said, could be an interview, could be me gaming. We'll figure it out. We'll go with the flow. So that's kind of it. So Cheech, awesome episode, my brother. And keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up, everybody. Peace.